I laugh at myself that it's going to be the middle of January. I'm still going to be saying, man, you don't want to play the Lions, the Ravens, or the Chiefs, and they might none be in the playoffs. Do you even fear Baltimore at this point?
If they play like that, no. And you've been saying it. It's like, there's reputation of who these guys are. I mean, Lamar is the MVP of the league. We're like changing the game. And then you see this, and you're like, wait a second. Like, I don't know that anybody's going to be afraid to see that.
And I'm looking at their schedule. You got to play the Bengals, who now look scary as hell. The Patriots, who are 11-2. Green Bay in Lambeau, who's as good as anybody, and then Pittsburgh. So I say that it could be for the division still, or the division could be done. I can't believe that.
Yeah, and that's what's surprising. And for me, I think it's a little bit like watching the Kansas
Chiefs.
City play, and you say like, hey, Travis Kelce, like, you make that catch when it's a one-score game. You do those things. Hey, Baltimore, and Lamar, you make those plays. They didn't.
Hardest thing to do is quit teams that have earned our trust, and those teams have. And at the moment, I suppose they're earning a little bit of not so sure.
Yeah.
And running out of time. Our time with you is up. We'll see you next Sunday. Yep. Appreciate it as always, Tim. Speaking of the playoffs, we got a bracket. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech are the top 4. 2 group of 5 teams. 2 make the field. James Madison and Tulane. Bama and Miami are in. Notre Dame is not. Let's do our research on the college football playoff. 3 of the top 5 in the bracket come from the Big Ten, including number 1, Indiana. For the first time in program history, they've been ranked number 1 overall after that Big Ten championship victory in Indy over Ohio State. The SEC has 5 teams in the playoff, the most of any conference. Georgia, 3rd, an SEC champion. Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Bama are 6 through 9. Kalen DeBoer's squad returns to the playoff after they missed his first season. The notable absence is Notre Dame. After an 0-2 start, 2 close losses, the Irish did rattle off 10 consecutive victories, outscoring opponents by nearly 300 points. Notre Dame was one of 9 teams ranked in the top 10 each of the first 5 playoff rankings. 8 of them did make the playoff. Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua told ESPN any rankings ahead of the final ones are, quote, a farce and total waste of time, before the team issued this statement. This is after he said it felt like they had all been collectively punched in the gut. As a team, we've decided to withdraw our name from consideration for a bowl game following the 2025 season. We appreciate all the support from our families and fans. We're hoping to bring the 12th national title to South Bend in 2026. Now, I thought that the head-to-head for Miami with Notre Dame had to matter, and apparently it did. To me, that makes sense. How Alabama doesn't drop a spot after they got smoked by Georgia in Atlanta does not. Why was Miami the only side-by-side for Notre Dame? Why not Alabama? Yeah, the Tide had a much better regular season win at Georgia, but they had a far worse loss. And I'm not talking about the one to Georgia yesterday. I'm talking about the one to Florida State that seemed to be forgotten. I just don't get that. Now, while we're at it, we could bring BYU into the head-to-head. They've got some nice metrics on their side, but at some point, we would be going on and on and on with the whatabouts. We knew that a number of brand-name teams would be on the wrong side of this. It's the first time I can ever. Let's go. Dusty Dvoracek alongside will be with me in studio for the first 2 rounds and then on the road at sites to be determined. And this context is important as a starting point. This is a man who asked for a Notre Dame varsity jacket as a kid.
Yeah.
Wore the boxers as a kid. Cried during Rudy. Had an affinity for the Irish, as many folks out there do. So that just frames as you came up as an Irish fan. Now you cover them. What do you make of their exclusion?
Well, look, somebody was going to be upset over this. Everybody was not going to be made happy. And I get it. Like, we did a show this morning in Bristol, and I said that if I'm on that committee, I've got Miami and Notre Dame in. I thought they were playing the best football at the end of the season. But at the same time, Alabama is very deserving of what they did earlier in the year. They got that resume. But as I watched that SEC championship game last night, I kept waiting, and there was never a moment where I said, that's a playoff team. That's my big issue, the way Alabama played down the stretch, and then again last night getting beat by 21 points. That's where I kind of thought this committee could step in and say, you know what? Notre Dame and Miami They may not have as good a resume, but they're playing better, and they didn't. And I think for the Notre Dame fan, and I think even for the college football fan, there's just confusion. It's like there's this target, and it keeps moving. Just tell me what the target is.
Yeah.
Is it best? Is it most deserving? Is it resume? And it seems like it's been changing throughout these rankings, and it's almost like it changes every year.
And my opinion can change based on who are we talking about? If it's Notre Dame and Miami, I'm saying Miami beat them. But then if I'm looking at Alabama, the way they looked, and I put them side by side with Notre Dame, I'm thinking, man, you got a worse loss in Florida State. Yeah, you got a better win. But then BYU is like, excuse me, you want to compare us to Notre Dame? Isn't our win against Utah maybe better? And I go, yeah, you got a point there. And so we could continue this conversation on down Vanderbilt, Texas, and on and on and on. And there's no way to please everybody. I want to ask you something I mentioned earlier in the show. I'm all for the story of James Madison and the story of Tulane. And we see in NCAA basketball tournament the idea of a Cinderella, but that's only 5 people that play both sides of the ball. It's a hell of a lot more difficult for those teams to win a game, let alone 4. Yep. Do 2 smaller schools make sense when you've only got 12 spots at the table?
No. And I don't think that's what these rules were put in place for. These rules were put in place with the assumption that the 4 Power 4 conference champions would be in there. That clearly didn't happen because the ACC messed this thing up, and they didn't have it set up to where Miami was playing Virginia last night in the ACC championship game. Hopefully these conferences will figure that out. Yep. But no, it doesn't make sense because, and especially this year, when you could probably move to 16, which I wonder with all this if we're not going to 16.
No, you don't wonder. You know it's going to happen.
It's coming, right. Which, you know, this year would have been a perfect year to have it. But with teams left out like a Notre Dame, who, by the way, I think can win the whole dang thing. I think Notre Dame might be better than they were last year, and they played for a national championship. So, you know, with teams like that being left out, and you've got a James Madison who doesn't have a single Power 4 victory on their resume, it's tough for that to sit well in your stomach. But these are the rules that are in place. James Madison, Tulane don't owe anybody an apology. No. They're just playing by the rules. It's just that I think a lot of things need to be looked at in this offseason. And the way we decide these automatic bids has to be something that's taken a long, hard look at.
Well, I mean, they can fix it. They didn't like the way the teams got buys last year. It didn't make a ton of sense that Boise and Arizona State did. So you know what they did? They fixed it the next year. They could fix it, and I believe, like you, that they will.
They write the rules.
Right.
We don't have to wait on anything, so correct. Fix it, get it right.
You don't need to ask permission you make the rules, you could fix them.
That's right.
We'll have an opportunity on the 19th and the 20th to dive into what's coming after that. In terms of the games that jump off the page, we've got a rematch, Bama and Oklahoma, and it's telling as an OU alum, you're like, I'd rather play Alabama than Notre Dame. That says a lot right there. And then obviously you've got A&M and Miami. What jumps out about those games?
Well, first of all, the rematch, the game in Tuscaloosa between Oklahoma and Alabama, it was off the charts. Yeah, that Oklahoma defense was fantastic. We just saw an Alabama offense really struggle. -3 rushing yards. If that doesn't jump off the page, I don't know what does. And guess what? It's not going to get any easier for Bama against this Oklahoma defense, who, yes, Alabama should get healthier, should maybe get Jam Miller back.
They were banged up.
Pieces. I think our Mason Thomas will be back for Oklahoma, who's their best player and their best defensive player. So I can't wait to see that matchup. And then with A&M Miami, I love everything about this matchup. Those two brands, we were talking about this earlier. You'd think they hadn't played in 50 years. They actually just played a couple of years ago.
They had a home and home in 23. Miami beat A&M by a decent number. It was a while ago, but I mean, it's not like that matchup, which seems like, wow, it's probably been a while. No, it was pretty recent.
It's an intriguing matchup, though. Home of the 12th man, that crowd you got to deal with, and one of the best third down defenses led by Cassius Howe, who's going to be getting after Carson Beck. This just feels like a game that's going to come down to the wire. And oh, by the way, the two teams that beat the Fighting Irish, and the reason they're not in this playoff this season are going to lock up in that first round. It's going to be fun.
And pressure on Miami. You know, this opportunity was afforded you. What do you make of this opportunity? We'll be watching all these games with great interest. Again, Dusty will be with us in studio on the 19th and the 20th in a couple of weeks. I look forward to that, and I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
When we continue. They lost. How many they lost by was significant to some. Denver continues to roll.